but let me say there's these steps, and you can buy in to any part of that step and wrap that product in your label at that step. There's some white labeling. It's literally their brand all the way up to a point of distribution.
And then it's,
Then it's
hey,
your
we
brand.
want to work for you. You just pay us, you put your own label on it, it's yours.
Right. Because you're buying just a baseline product at this point.
I had one day today
Mm.
that was not good. I woke up feeling bad, like physically, spiritually. Woke up and I was like, I'm not happy and I don't feel good. Like these were the thoughts that were going through my head.
Uh-huh.
And I woke up with a headache. And I said to myself, the headache is probably not, it's probably caffeine dependency. I'm not going to drink coffee today. I was like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna let my body tell me I have to have caffeine in order to be happy. So I chose not to have caffeine, and
Mm.
the whole day sucked. The whole day just sucked. There was it was not a good day.
Oh, that's funny.
But as far as like not good days go, it wasn't a bad day. It wasn't, you know, there was nothing really wrong with it. I just didn't feel good and wasn't happy.
Mm.
And then I went to bed, did my whole day, went to work, talked to Anne after I got off and got up, and then I was okay. Oh, my wife texted me.
Yes, she heard you.
I I have to say, with caffeine, I'm a much happier, healthier, more productive person. And it's and I actually did hear something interesting yesterday. It's nothing that I've had an opportunity to like look into or uh, verify, but it's, you know how, I'm sure you've heard like Starbucks buys shitty beans
No.
and then they over roast the shit out of their beans,
Mm.
which is why all Starbucks coffee tastes like shit, which is why they then dump a whole bunch of milk and cream and sugar in it
Mm.
to make it not taste like shit. Somebody that I work with was like, "Do you know it's actually not the case that Starbucks buys the worst beans. It's like on a hierarchy of who gets top billing for access to the beans.
Mm.
Starbucks is pretty close to the top because they need so many. They don't actually buy the very shittiest beans.
Mm.
What they said was Dunkin' Donuts buys the shittier beans.
Mm.
If you've ever tried to buy Dunkin' Donuts coffee in a store, you will see that they are comparable in price to Starbucks. The case that they were making was that Dunkin' Donuts doesn't systematically over roast their beans, doesn't just burn the absolute shit out of them. So they get the beans that are like swept up off the floor, and they don't cost as much. They're less expensive, but they sell them at a premium, and they can because people are still willing to pay for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I thought that was so interesting. It's the same thing with the McRib, sort of like the McDonald's McRib.
Okay.
It's seasonal.
Right.
You ever they back by popular demand, right? Nobody's demanding the McRib,
Ish. Right.
for God's sakes.
Backed by certain
Backed
pork value
by
prices.
the price of pork. Once the price
Mm.
of pork gets to a certain point where
Mm.
the margin of profit is high enough
Mm-hmm.
for McDonald's to put it through their process and distribute it, it's available again. You know, limited
Mm.
time So they can create the scarcity and tell you that, hey, get it now while supplies last, while people want our shitty processed pork. It's
Oh,
it's
it's hilarious.
it's all marketing. It's all, what's the price point that we can get this at that makes it profitable enough for us to justify it, and marketing.
Right, right. You know, it's I find so I talk about the coffee thing for a second. I talked to a guy from India who his family owns tea, and I mean everything from the seeds to the thing that the tea leaves grow, the harvest to the drying, like the
Like total
whole
vertical
process,
integration.
like from literally from seed to cup, right? Their family owns the whole process for this one particular. See, and he let me know that it's very coffee parallels it on a lot of big stages. I thought
Coffee.
that
Yeah.
was super interesting. That if you wanted to get into coffee, you don't have to buy the bean. Like you could say, because most beans are so few differences, right? Like you said, like the really great bean and the really crappy bean, like how you do the rest of the coffee part could really make a difference on whether or not it is a good cup of coffee or not a good cup of coffee. Um, when I was thinking about opening up my own white label coffee, right? Because I drink a lot of coffee, and
When you
I'm
say
like,
white label, what do you mean?
well, so white labeling is you buy somebody else's part of that process, and instead under their brand name, it's under your brand name.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then you redirect like from that point in process down your own channel for distribution, depending on what you want to buy in, right? So you're gonna buy in like at the bean level, like harvest,
South America or
right?
Africa, or
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna go a couple steps down the line from that, I
But
think.
yeah, right. But like the part I liked uh was the blending. So there's like the harvest, there's the bean, there's the bean roast, right? And then there is the blending. So it's bean getting, bean roasting, and then blending.
Mhm.
And blending is when you put different herbs in with the blend of your bag of coffee.
Okay. Yeah.
And I actually picked that up there. Because in the Target section in the back corner, there's a coffee bar,
We
and
used to.
really, oh, it's not there anymore. Oh,
I got there.
yeah. But go back there, go check because you just pour over coffee bot, and there's like a crap ton of like random coffee things,
Mhm.
and you'll be running low on 6 different pieces of coffee, right? Like just enough if you combine them to make one hot, right? And
Yeah.
so I would experiment with different blends of coffee, different, and then there'd be like some spices back there. It's like, what would this coffee taste like? Anyway, I was like, I really enjoyed this piece of the puzzle. Come to find out, that's a thing. There is a thing called a blender as an organization, as a part of the process, not just the thing that spins. And you can call up a blender, and they will take the roast that you want from where you want it or their own line, give you samples of different blends of things that you say, different recipes that you can either provide them a recipe or they'll make up some recipes based on the interview, and they'll give you some samples. You pick 2 or 3 samples and you buy 500 bags of coffee, a pallet of coffee, and ta-da, you now have your own coffee brand, right? And yeah, and some blenders will be also your distributor, so they'll wrap it with your product brand and then also direct sale distribute it, or it ship it to a distributor like Amazon or something, right?
Mm.
Where people can buy one bag at a time, or you can sell it to hotels or whatever, right? But I'm just saying there's these steps, and you can buy in to any part of that step and wrap that product in your label at that step. There's some white labeling. It's literally their brand all the way up to a point of distribution.
And then it's,
Then it's
hey,
your brand.
we want to work for you. You just pay us, you put your own label on it, it's yours.
Right. Because you're buying just a baseline product at this point. And you know where you see that the most in the grocery stores?
Mm-mm.
The cereal section.
Hmm.
The crappy cereal that you think is crappy on the bottom, the big ass bags.
That comes out of the bag stale already. That
Yeah.
cereal? Always?
Always. But those bags of cereal are exactly the same as the box cereal. So like it's the same manufacturer. It just depends on where they bought in, right? Did
It's
they
like
buy in?
Cheerios, all the shit that fell on the floor that they swept up and like
It could be.
put through a
Yes.
sieve to get the floor dust off of it. That becomes like pirate O's.
Right. Definitely. Like absolutely.
That sucks. I guess
Right.
there's a good reason for that.
Yeah. That's just another way to distribute the same product because they already made it, right? The wheat was
Yeah.
harvested, the oat was roasted, and just
Yeah.
because it's not premium, so there's two phases. One, it's not the premium Cheerio, right? So it's now become private O, because of maybe it got held up in some process, and so it's
Mhm.
older, like you said. Or sometimes it's exactly the same, like it's a premium, and then they split the channels just to get more food out,
Yeah.
right?
And maybe different brands end up working better in different market segments too.
Right.
And I'm sure that has something to do with it as well. Like
Yeah,
because
yeah.
there's certain places that you can find like there's certain like, you can find Cheerios everywhere in America, but maybe Ralston Foods is only available in the places where people want to buy really stale, shitty cereal.
Yeah, 100%.